Quickshot joined by Vedius and Nymaera for XL's first ever best of 5. Nymaera's first playoff best of 5. How are you feeling today ahead of the games?
I'm feeling pretty hyped. You know, we've got a little bit of the old and the new on stage, and here on the desk as well. I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, the old and the new. Touche. I quite like that one. Andy, how are you doing today?
Well, I've heard a couple of times that people have commented that Nymaera and I sound the same, so I thought I'd add a bit of flavour to change things up, you know what I mean?
This is not what I wanted when I said hype, new, fresh.
We're going to be jumping into the draft in just a minute, so let's go! It's time for the music!
Please, for my sake, don't keep that accent up in game.
I feel like I should have let in with like a...
It sounds lovely. Yeah. Please don't get me wrong, it sounds lovely, but it just reminds me of my family. Yeah. So, we're jumping into game. XL taking on Vitality on the blue side. Straight out the gate, Diana banned away. Vedius, what are you anticipating from this draft? And obviously, we heard the players talking just a moment ago. I think bot lane for XL, probably where my eyes are going to be in game 1.
For sure. We know that Patrik was very prominent on the Jinx during the regular season. I wonder if that is going to shift. Yesterday, we saw a lot of Aphelios priority coming out from either side. We also saw the introduction of Xayah, and for those that are long-time Patrik fans, you'll know that he actually kind of made a name for himself on the champion, so I still feel like he has a lot at his disposal. The question is, will that be the priority for XL?
And speaking of XL's priorities, they chose blue side, and I think what they're doing with their blue side bans actually quite interesting to me right off the bat, because the Diana, the TF, they seem to be quite easy to execute champions, and that's something which was talked about on the pre-show a little bit. Vitality sometimes made their job a little too hard, so I think that taking away some of these champions, again, it might force Vitality something a little harder to execute, and that might be a bad thing for them in this first game.
So we're looking at what could still be up on the table. Things like Xayah was something we saw a lot. We haven't really seen a huge amount in playoffs. Lee Sin has kind of risen in priority as the alternative, with the Hecarim being removed.
Markoon.
Yes, Markoon has been playing a huge amount of Xayah in particular.
He loves it, doesn't he? 8 games this season. He's spoken so fondly of the champion. He's such a fan. Youngboy keeps putting him on that particular pick. And with Jinx not picked, banned away during phase 1, near insta-lock here for Patrik. I don't think that's a big surprise, Nymaera.
No, because we've seen the big prior on this throughout the other 2 series that we've had this weekend. Globally, of course, Jinx is not being picked out to quite the same degree that we saw before this kind of recent patch. But as we were talking about, bot lane priority for XL, it fits that kind of playstyle which they've cultivated for themselves already, the split.
Now, yesterday, Fnatic, they had a really big priority on this LeBlanc, and just as I mentioned it, it instantly gets locked in for Vitality. So you can see who's been scrimming who this weekend. Yeah. The priority here for Perkz as well. For those who are unaware, Perkz is a little famous for his LeBlanc, especially when it comes to playoffs. His series versus RNG, in particular back in 2018, was very standout, but he has had many notable performances since then, and the immediate response from XL, the Lissandra, something that Nukeduck often goes to shut this LeBlanc down.
I really love the mind games, and now come down to execution. Just a quick touch on Perkz' LeBlanc. 34 professional career games, a minute 76% win ratio on that pick. If the Perkz playoff buff is going to come into effect on a champion like LeBlanc, it could come early against XL.
It could do, and speaking of the early kind of game, that's where LeBlanc really starts pushing Lissandra around its individual matchup. We've seen that laning leads can happen from the LeBlanc before the level 6, so I think it's going to get a bit dicey. After that point, though, already looking at, you need to dive onto the Jinx, but there are 2 champions, the Viego and the Lissandra, which will make that job actually kind of difficult. So having some extra backline access with that Gangplank ult, which has also just been locked in now, is quite important from how the draft's evolving currently.
It feels like Vitality have come in with a very clear game plan. They have a very strong mid-jungle duo that they're going to look to try and leverage and play through in the early game. Alphari on his very well-known Gangplank, a safe pick for him, something he can have global impact on, especially if they then use that mid-control to look to attack the bot side of the map, which is the direction that XL will now start banning out, removing the Ezreal. They could very well remove things like the Aphelios, maybe Caitlyn, maybe even the Xayah, many AD carries that we've seen popping up still in the current meta.
And speaking of that AD carry, of course, we know how Jinx kind of works in this current meta, and we've already talked about how Vitality have locked in champions, which their mission currently is to just shut down that Jinx, make sure that they can't have themselves a clean team fight. Question is, what can you lock in towards your own bot side now without that Ezreal? I actually wonder if Senna Ana could be a pick potentially coming through. We've seen it being picked up a little bit throughout a couple of different regions. Maybe an option.
I mean, we'll see what's going to happen. Of course, just got an update from our stats team. Thank you, stats team. This is the first time Jinx was not banned throughout the course of our playoffs. So a very interesting tidbit here on day 3. Patrik will get that comfort pick. 8 games played this season. This will be his 9th. The final ban is going to be Renata Glass. So Carzzy and Labrov lost picks. And I will say, by the way, when I think of Vitality and Alphari and Perkz and the impact they can have, and then I see them on some of their best signature champions, this is definitely throwing down the gauntlet, both for and against Vitality on those comfort picks, as Carzzy will lock in that Xayah, something that Patrik will be all too familiar with. He'll be aware of what Carzzy can and cannot do.
I feel like these last 2 picks for Excel are going to be really telling as to kind of the direction of this draft, because I really like what Vitality have so far in terms of Vitality style and how they like to play. The question is, how will XL choose to round things out? I do think that a champion like LeBlanc, Irelia rather, would be pretty ambitious, and I'd be surprised if that was the direction that they go, and this makes a little bit more sense to me. Lulu is very good at mitigating so much of the burst that Vitality have for themselves with things like the Gangplank and the LeBlanc specifically, and Nymaera, you're already talking about it. This Jinx now has even more protection with the utility provided by the Lissandra, with the utility from the Lulu as well.
And the very important thing about the Lulu is that it's the first thing that can really do anything against that Gangplank ult. You've got the Lissandra and the Viego that can deal with the bodies flying at you, but the cannon barrage is a little harder to deal with unless you have some move speed, some shielding to stop a lot of that damage coming through. Irelia is actually going to be locked in. So now what actually XL have set up is a strong 1v1 side lane if you get a lead on that, and then the 4-man unit rolling around with a lot of buffs to keep things rolling.
I have to ask, Vedius, Irelia, how bold is it as we're about to see the last pick, because you had some reservations?
Well, I think that into the matchup it can be fine. Early levels you can struggle a little bit, but I keep saying this, if you don't know Finn, originally he was an Irelia one-trick. Of all the people you can trust to play this champion, it would be him, but then during the regular season he went like 0-6 on it, I think, in a game against, I forget who exactly it was, but it's a champion that is very high risk, high reward. If you're able to get ahead in a side lane, it has so much mechanical expression that it can do a lot, but against a highly mobile LeBlanc, against a Xayah that has so much self-peel, against a Nautilus, the amount of utility it provides, I feel like that it's going to be very difficult, and XL now lack that front line. Irelia can go pretty tanky, but I was expecting a tanky engage style champion to round out the comp for XL. Instead, they've decided to go for a slightly higher risk, which could come to bite them later on.
Their front line is we get 1 kill and 3 resets make the difference up for us. That's the point. They front line by having threat. Question is, can they get again to that break point to try and take down the first target and roll over the fight?
That's so risky though, because it does come down to what I do like though, is both of these compositions will be able to be very aggressive, be able to be very proactive in their playstyles, and I think I'm going to turn my attention to Selfmade's Lee Sin very early on. Him comboing with LeBlanc could be a terrifying start, and arguably the danger duo that we were waiting to see throughout spring. Sometimes it was there. Vitality, not the most consistent. They're about to take on XL. And welcome to Summoner's Rift, game 1 of our best of 5. Immediately on the screen, XL are setting themselves up to potentially counter some shenanigans. And Labrov, Selfmade, and Carzzy somewhat mirrored. So stratting, counter-stratting the name of the game. Flash traded Labrov for Nukeduck. Immediately going to put him under pressure.
And having the summon away from both of these... Oh,
it's
okay,
not over yet. That's a 2-man stun. Vitality are running for their lives. Markoon's trying to chase him forward. Nukeduck gets the shot out, and First Blood immediately bitten back.
Okay, so about those resets and trying to get ahead of that burst curve for XL. Early gold, not even before the 1-minute mark. Very good news for this first game in playoffs.
XL, they prepped well. They set up for that bush, predicting some type of early invade from Vitality, and Vitality's game plan was, hey, let's try and catch Nukeduck off guard. Let's try and burn his flash. Maybe we can then look for a mid gank with the LeBlanc and the Lee Sin, right? This is a great early game for us. But then Vitality overstepped. XL was able to punish the lack of flash on Labrov, and they find themselves with First Blood on the target that they wanted to try and shut down early.
And now, actually, I'm looking at this once again, and I think actually this early game, having a summoner away from a melee engaging support into more of a lane bully and chancer of the Lulu is quite dangerous. You don't really want to be playing around lack of summoners in the bot lane as Vitality.
Really, really love that. And for any long-time viewers, Young Buck once upon a time was famed for his level 1s. Once upon a time famed for his very early game understanding of his team and his opponents that allows XL in their first playoffs game to pick up first blood, a very minor advantage. And just very quickly, I want to highlight first ever playoffs, so therefore no games played. But interestingly, the combination of players on the team do have 192 matches combined themselves, Vedius.
Yeah, XL is a surprisingly veteran roster when it comes to playoffs. You kind of look across the board. Nukeduck has a number of games. Patrik has a number of games. Mikyx has an insane number of games as well. Finn with his fair share of games. And then you look across the other side, Vitality, while their history as an organization doesn't have the best playoff performances, you look across the stat lines, you can see actually a lot of champions there. Perkz, multiple titles underneath his belt, multiple finals appearances from Alphari. The only person actually shutting Alphari down was Perkz, and then Carzzy with his back-to-back titles last year. So like, this roster across the board, very experienced from both these sides, with a number of title holders as well.
I like how the XL graphic there, it's kind of like taking the Scooby-Doo villain mask off and go, wow, there's actually veterancy here. You know, there is, of course, the Orc storyline, but I have to see now, of course, what's going to happen towards this bot lane when you have this Nautilus. You can fight early. You can see that Perkz is managing to get out of lane. Of course, using that flash taken away from Lissandra, just trying to spread across that pressure somewhere else.
And that was something Perkz was very good at, moving that pressure to help out his other lanes. Labrov, by the way, has Hex Flash once or twice already in that bottom lane, trying to play very forward. And Markoon will make his way up towards that scuttle and step just into sight of minions there for Nukeduck. Keeping my eye on Selfmade, who's done a full clear as well. And for the time being, XL very, very happy with that read, with that small advantage. And they're going to be feeling content with how they've opened this game up.
So I want to quickly take stock of some of the lane positions as well, and I love what we're seeing from Markoon here, because I was just about to comment, this wave for Finn is in a very awkward spot, especially with Selfmade hovering. Alphari was able to push in the first few waves, go back to base, TP back in, and here comes Selfmade.
The Sonic Wave connects, followed up immediately, dash backwards from Finn. Here comes Markoon, massive damage onto Vitality, and Selfmade will fall. That's 2 kills for XL already.
And one of the things that we kind of criticized about Vitality on one side of things coming out of the regular split was they weren't that connected between their top and their jungle. Like, see this again, Selfmade is kind of in the right place. You can see the start of the thought process. Wave's in a bad spot. Maybe we can capitalize on something here, but XL beat him to the punch and they execute better.
I think the Markoon's positioning there was just fantastic. He saw that Finn needed help. Finn's wave was in an awkward space because of that slow push. Alphari had TP back in. He had that slight item advantage, and Finn now had to commit his TP to make sure that that wave was not frozen on him. And Markoon was just there to cover, making sure that he could get that push out. Selfmade trying to punish his overextension, but the jungle was there ready to shut him down. So huge props to Markoon, reading the map well, working well with his top laner, and now XL find themselves with 2 kills on the board.
And viewing things from a slightly different perspective as well, Markoon's first Viego game this split was the game that got them into playoffs. That was the first time we'd seen it, doing it on a different champion. We talked about his champion pool maybe being a bit constrained actually throughout the regular split. Good to see that he's having a good early game, at least on this champion, to get things rolling.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I really like about these first 2 plays is it is sort of not only reacting to what Vitality did in the mid lane, but then also, as you mentioned, Vedius, responding to the lane setup. So XL, early game plan, executed to give them the advantage. It is extended to 600 gold. Only a small CS advantage here for both Perkz and Carzzy in their respective lanes, but it's been Markoon moving around, assisting both mid and top to get those kills.
And I think it's important to remember that when we look at XL's comp, their game plan here is to stall things out, wait for those later fights. When you have Jinx Lulu, that becomes your primary win condition the later into the game that you go. And so Vitality, a lot of the onus is on them to be proactive and make things happen. And Markoon is going to do his best to limit Selfmade's impact and shut him down whenever he can.
And I think what's really interesting about the other side of the win conditions is saying, actually, well, you know, if Jinx Lulu is going to be a big win condition for XL, maybe the Gangplank can do something if they're left alone to scale up. Well, you've got an Irelia that can potentially deal with that too. So XL have a lot of answers for what Vitality have shown against them too.
And when we talk about that Irelia, you know, Finn, he didn't have the greatest performance on Irelia this season. It was a win. The team helped out. Let's not forget that. An all-time professional, Finn has got 10 games, of which he has won 7. It was something that was banned against him frequently. And look at this, more support. Both Markoon and Nukeduck making their way to the top lane as level 5-on-5 in the junglers. Nukeduck is going to be able to step forward with that frozen tomb. Alphari's got the cannon barrage available. 3v2. Perkz has got TP up. The claws follow TP's channel. Vanguard's edge is out. That's the third of the game to Excel. A lot of damage onto Finn. Here comes Perkz. He gets jumped on, burst out, and sent packing. Alphari cannot do anything to reply.
Beautiful execution there from Excel. Nukeduck drawing the tower aggro. I wondered why he was holding his ult for so long, but it was mainly so that he could reset it. The moment he went invulnerable, the tower aggro swapped over to Finn while he was disengaging from the tower, and they get the kill onto the flashless Selfmade. Excel using their mid-prio beautifully on a stacked wave up top. This early game is looking fantastic.
And honestly, this is one of the hallmarks of Excel. Again, what they've kind of showed throughout the entirety of Spring so far is that they're very good at their early rotations when they have the first move on the map. They find it from mid at this one juncture. Going to see, of course, how this works out in that replay. They have the experience happening at the right time. And once again, Selfmade feels like he's there at just about the right time, but doesn't quite take into account the amount of movement that's coming in from Vitality. Perkz not quite able to clean things up.
I think that the window that Nukeduck leveraged there in the mid lane, knowing that Perkz needed to go for a reset, moving up towards top, forcing the TP out from Perkz as well. Just really good movement, because again, even if Selfmade wasn't there, their plan was to dive onto the Gangplank, to leverage their numbers advantage, to look for a pick, at the very least force him to lose that wave. But XL playing this early game beautifully for the time being.
They do have a significant lead at this stage, 1,600 gold by 8 minutes. Vitality, however, took advantage of those backs to pick up the first Drake of the game just before 8 minutes, and Carzzy took a big chunk of damage. He was tagged by Patrik, Zap, and pushed back, and then once again, Perkz is roaming. Just going to step forward, looking, fishing, but no opportunities presented. And Mikyx and Patrik, they respect the level 6. I think they respected the pings there as well, so they've fallen back to their tower, and they conceded and put themselves in a position where they couldn't be at risk.
And for a mid-jungle duo from Vitality, which seems so strong at playing around the straight 2v2, they've actually been using it in a slightly different way. Vitality have been using this LeBlanc to go towards bot lane. Just have a look and see if there's anything to be found there. Goes towards the top lane to try and divert that play. They haven't found the same kind of results as XL, though, but maybe Vitality can look for a window in this game themselves to play around the LeBlanc, having that level 6, maybe get some double chains to get the Lee Sin back into things.
Where do you want to see that happen, though? Because the playmaking's there, but it is felt as though Markoon and XL have taken advantage of that top lane. Super Mega Death Rockets flying out and just going wide.
This is really important, because you can see why they're trying to stop the reset, because you can see bot lane going up towards that Herald, trying to see what they could do there around this objective.
They should still be first on the objective. They have the numbers, and Selfmade not going to be in a position to steal, so XL, they can now actually send Patrik and Mikyx up towards the top lane. Finn can go back to base, make his way, catch the bot wave as well. His TP is about to spawn, so if any shenanigans were to happen up towards the top side of the map, he'll be there to support. XL continuing to see really good map movements from them, and I'm just really, really impressed, because I feel like that Vitality, Selfmade hasn't intentionally tried to attack top, it feels. He's kind of seen opportunities where he can actually try and punish Finn, especially in the wave state, and then it's XL that has shut him down. So we haven't really seen him try and play with Perkz in the mid lane. We haven't seen that mid-jungle synergy that we kind of expected in draft, and I think a lot of the credit needs to go to Markoon and how he's reading the map right
And
now.
of course, the few times Perkz has sort of been proactive on the map, he was moving bot lane, and around at that same time, Nukeduck and Markoon moving top lane. So Finn on this Irelia, as soon as it was locked in, both Vedius and I got a little anxious, a little nervous, but XL have shown the game plan. They've shown they can take advantage of the state of the map, and they've managed to get him in a great position. 1-0-2, and he's ahead of Alphari right now.
And thinking about the gamesmanship of this is game 1. If you show something more bold like this and it works out, it's going to affect the drafts that happen after this point. If this Irelia is that suddenly a threat, I mean, Alphari, whose Gangplank is obviously very well renowned, maybe they can't pick it quite so confidently as they would like.
Of course, we're only in game 1.
Yes.
I respect that you're thinking ahead, thinking about the impact, and it's a valid point, but still a lot of this game left to go, and I've seen XL for bigger leads than this. So, Alphari in the 1v1 right now, falling short to Finn, ends up being forced to flash, and we're starting to see why the matchup can be so favorable for the Irelia. Once Finn's Q is back up, which it is, he could look for a kill.
Ooh, next time that happens, Vedius, just do the play-by-play. Alphari and Finn trading blow for blow, but what I really like is seeing the confidence in Finn's play. He started with that Vanguard's Edge, he threw the floor shoe into the Vanguard's Edge, he was chasing the kill and ended up getting Alphari's flash. Can he do it again? We'll have to find out. Mikyx sidesteps the ethereal chains.
Can't do that to your boy. You know what I mean?
Mikyx and Perkz, that is just a beautiful, beautiful interaction. Former teammates going toe-to-toe in game 1 of this BO5. Perkz, 105 CS, hasn't yet had the opportunity to have an impact. He's going to be able to be a little bit more unlocked as we start moving a little bit more around the map.
So a little bit of story time. Trev, you and I, we're old men now.
Oh, we are.
We've been casting
Tell
for a
me
while.
story time.
I remember 2018 finals. Nukeduck was there. Lissandra versus Caps was actually the champion that he used to get the first game with Schalke and actually completely shut Caps' ability down to be a big proactive playmaker. And I have to give a lot of credit to Nukeduck because he's actually just one of the oldest, longest standing players that we have here in the LEC. This man, we joke about being old. This guy's been around forever. He's been around since Season 3. He's played against Perkz, he's played against Froggen, he's played against Alex Ish.
I've seen every single game he's had.
He played against the original FLICKR.
Yes.
It was his Swain at Worlds that went into FLICKR's Ahri. Like, Nukeduck has been around, and while he has had ups and downs in his career, you have to give respect to the man because while many have retired, taken a step back, haven't been able to compete at the top level, Nukeduck has always found a way.
Still hugely respected, hugely feared, and this game has been able to help Finn get an advantage. Markoon is now moving some of his attention towards this bottom lane. The Rift Herald was dropped, picked up a couple of plates, extends that gold lead further, and you can see Vitality starting to fall just a little bit back.
Do you just want to call back to a quick thing which happened there? Because some of you might have noticed Jinx ult flying off into the horizon.
Yeah.
Actually, that was used to track the jungle camps. And of course, we know that Selfmade has been behind in this game, is probably looking for that first look into this game. Has really been struggling to find the correct angle to do so. That kind of tracking just makes it even more difficult again.
I'm so excited to see XL come out swinging in game number 1. I'm very interested in what the sort of fan sentiment is around this matchup. You know, the expectation of Perkz playoff buff, Vitality's players individually. I personally even anticipated them being able to outclass XL in a 1v1 overall. But XL have shown that as a team and as they draft that they've put together, they will equal up the Dragons. Mikyx stepping forward, challenging the vision, forcing Vitality to fall further and further backwards, and Finn is unleashed. He's now chasing onto Perkz, going to dodge some of the damage for now and force the clone out at least before Finn backs away.
That ultimate is a pretty long cooldown at Lulu levels. You can see 130 seconds on the clock on the bottom left of your screen, but this is the power of Irelia in a side lane. If she is able to get through the laning phase, once she gets that first item, there's very few champions on Vitality's side that can deal with her in an isolated 1v1. 2v1, there's windows in which they can take advantage. Team fights, I think this Irelia still may be a little bit scary, but we'll figure that out as we get later into the game. But Finn, for the time being, leveraging his expertise on the champion to bully in the matchups.
Once again, Super Mega Deathrock almost on cooldown. Patrik using his either to
just like a
interrupt or fight utility ult.
Have you heard of Hawkshot? It's an ability which Jinx now has.
Yeah, but that's not Jinx or Aphelios, and Patrik prefers those two champions over the Ashe. But I mean, Vedius, where do you see Vitality now? We're hitting that 14-minute mark. The tower plating has fallen. And frankly, they are the ones that are taking the punches from XL.
They certainly are, and even their lane assignments, I feel like XL have just been bullying them across the map, right? They've been moving around the map flawlessly. They've secured their first tower of the game. Vitality, their primary win condition in the early game was get Nukeduck's flash, have an early gank with the LeBlanc and the Lee Sin, and then try and unlock Perkz on the map to start snowballing everywhere else. You then have the Gangplank ultimate to assist the LeBlanc in the roams and the attacking on the side lanes. But all of that early game has been shut down, and Vitality are very quickly running out of options. It doesn't mean in the mid game that they won't. They can look to attack the sides, maybe look for a pick. If they're first on the objective, they can force the enemy to face check into them, and with no real front line, there's ways in which Vitality can find picks, but Vitality are on the back foot right now.
Yeah, and actually one of the things which is helping with that is XL are taking a lot of the collateral around. They've taken some wolf camps, they're finding some objectives. They don't have the vision to take this fight.
No, they don't. Mikyx's going to get caught out. Dredge line back, Cannon Barrage down. Vitality on the board. The first of playoffs of 2022. Selfmade's not done yet. Look at that! Blast Cone, resonating strike, rubber banding back and forth. It ends up being a trade, 2-for-1 thus far. Nukeduck is using that tomb to stay alive, and Patrik's trying to find himself a kill. Doesn't get excited just yet, and they push Vitality away.
Great use of Fog of War and Vitality's mobility. LeBlanc dashing in over the wall, the Lee Sin then following up, catching and collapsing onto Mikyx, to then a beautiful kick from Selfmade. As you rightly said, Quickshot gets Vitality on the board.
And I think what I was about to say is XL were doing so well in the broken map state. I mean, Finn was taking jungle camps, meaning that Vitality playing the larger map actually weren't getting the maximum value for it. And then they just skip a couple of steps. They cut a corner just towards the end of it, go too far into the Fog of War, and Vitality punish.
You can see how that composition can lock down everybody for such a long time. Nautilus into the chains, and the Cannon Barrage means that both Carzzy and Labrov were the recipients of the kills. The Herald was not taken, and right now XL still have a small numbers advantage towards the top half. No teleport available for Finn, as Markoon has now started off the Herald, and it looks as though Vitality are nearby.
So once again, good objective control. I have to praise Vitality for their ability to find that pick earlier, but now they're climbing, they're trying to collapse onto XL front to back. Good use of the traps to zone away Perkz, and now they're looking to attack the 3.
The claw goes out, wasn't able to land the ice shot, and Vitality escaped. So second Herald secured by XL. They are going to be able to push this wave, not going to commit to any chip damage on the tower.
Nukeduck had like 2 seconds left.
I was waiting for that.
It was
tomb.
so close. I saw the line just on the edge of the ultimate cooldown. I was like, maybe that could have changed the way that those couple of minutes would have played out. Patrik left to play in a side lane, and as you're saying, Verdi, actually Perkz trying to index into that side lane. The question is, how long does that last until XL finally get those resets to come in to get Irelia potentially into a 1v1 situation against this LeBlanc? I think that's going to be a big turning point if XL find that lane allocation.
I also want to keep my eyes on that mini-map on Vision, because XL don't want to get caught out. The amount of pick potential on this Vitality roster, you saw just a momentary lapse in Vision, and Labrov was able to set up at least 2 kills.
Can we see Vitality's Vision really quickly? Oh, they must have seen him now. Because Markoon was just hovering around this lane, mainly because their primary focus right now is securing that top tower, and Markoon was just here to cover. Has the Herald to help secure it as well. And I was wondering if Vitality would overcommit because they didn't have information on where Markoon was. Thank you very much, observers. But Markoon will reveal himself. They will secure themselves another tower, and they will claim more control over the map.
And while all this is happening, actually, you see that Carzzy is kind of shadowing Alphari down towards that bot side, and again, feels like a continuing trend in this game, at least with Vitality. They're trying something around the fringes of this map state to try and maybe get an advantage here and there, but they're losing resources for the cost of it. And whoa, okay.
Ooh, there's the engage. LeBron's the one that's caught out. Dragon's Rage backwards. Patrik stays alive. The wild goes down the shield. Patrik still not dead. He's still alive. Gets excited and fires out the rockets. Everything in the kitchen sink was not enough to take down Patrik.
And the Irelia flies into that fight, and once they start stacking up that passive, it is so hard to shut them out. You don't have the burst damage to take down the Irelia in this fight, and Vitality, they very much overestimate themselves.
Wow, Giga Chad Patrik just looks Perkz in the eye and says, I'm taking this tower and you will not stop me. He was determined to get that passive prop. And just watch Patrik here. He's like, yeah, I can take this. It's fine. I've got Mikyx protecting me. Look, he's like, I need the tower. A great kick from Selfmade into the chains, but Patrik with the flash out. Gale Force 2, another shield comes in from Mikyx, and then Irelia joins the fray to clean up the fight.
So this is exactly why we say Jinx Lulu is a win condition. How do you fight against that at this point in the game? They have the gold, they don't complete the dive.
Hello, this is Patrik on Jinx and Vedius versus every other champion. 30% of his damage share, damage share, 8 wins, 6 losses. These are the comfort picks. It was first picked, but crucially, I think every other champion around him is the reason he was able to get away with that.
And of all the players to not ban Jinx against, and remember, we said that this is the first time that Jinx has not been banned in this weekend of LEC playoffs. Why would you do this for Patrik?
Well, let's see if Patrik and the XL can pick up game 1 in this series. They are up 2,000 gold, 2 dragons to 1. Impressively, 6 kills to 2 as we crest this 20-minute mark. But that gold lead, 2.5K, can be removed with some of these picks if XL have a lapse in vision, if Vitality can find those picks. But the thing is, Vedius, it doesn't feel like Vitality's had a chance to find picks.
I mean, for me, it feels like that. Nymaera mentioned it earlier, Vitality's just kind of constantly looking. Their lane assignments sometimes feel a little weird, but that's mainly because they're looking for those small mistakes from XL, and they were able to catch them once.
Ooh, like
but
this.
Since then, oh, exactly like this.
Well, there you go. That's dead, Markoon. So you were saying, Vedius?
Yeah, so I was saying that Vitality is getting creative right now. They can't just follow the playbook. They can't just do what they're supposed to. They need to go against it and find something.
Oh, can they? Labrov will still have a few seconds longer, but not too long indeed. Stepping forward, trying to be playful. The tower did fall in exchange for his life, but it cost Labrov.
And I love when we see both sides of the coins in such close continuation of each other. Vitality go for an aggressive pick. They try and again find something around the fog of war. Then they just get a little over-aggressive, a little bold after that point.
Okay, so bluntly now, as gold is relatively close despite the way the game is played out, do we just prefer the XL team fight comp once we get later, once we get 2, 3, 4 items?
Personally, I have a lot of trust in Patrik's Jinx, especially when paired up with a Lulu. Finn does take a big burst of damage.
Now that's the counterpoint. You have trust in Patrik's Jinx, but look at what Perkz' LeBlanc is doing as well.
I was about to say, I was saying, oh wow, what happens if Irelia gets a chance to 1v1 LeBlanc? Well, we'll just see what happens when LeBlanc gets to really throughout all of the combo at that point. I think if Vitality can make it about multi-angle fights, play on side lanes, and then collapse, get some advantage in side lanes, that's when I prefer them. But you're right, on the other side of it, XL's team fight, pretty scary when it goes face-to-face.
I think that itemization is only going to get better for XL though. Once Finn gets a little bit more magic resistance, he's going to be much more better suited for the 1v1 against Perkz. You also have Patrik continuing to scale up on his Jinx, and I am just a little worried for Vitality in terms of the comp that they have. It's not like they have no options later into the game. They have drafted very strong side laners, but the problem is those side laners can either be mitigated with the Lissandra or even lose to the Irelia. And so Vitality's kind of win conditions are very much, let's try and gain some control over an area of the map, look for a pick, and then leverage a numbers advantage to either force an objective, which can then turn into a big fight favor for us, or maybe snowball that into more picks, which can then, again, give us more control. Of course, they're on a massive gold deficit.
No.
It's only about 1.5 K, so they're definitely still in this game. It's just the longer this game goes, I do think that it gets harder for Vitality to play.
It sounds really complex, how they've got to pull that off. And look, Finn, 2-0-4 on this Irelia, and is just destroying Alphari in the 1v1. Dashes for one loss, manages to pick up the kill. Now Selfmade, fancies a chance. Finn has got the damage to turn around, waiting for the Defiant Dance. Is it on cooldown, looking for the one blade? He sidesteps it, but it's the damage for Selfmade. Ends up being a kill to Vitality.
Okay, it's a 1-for-1 in a 1v2. Dodges out on that last Q, and the rocket flies wide.
That has to be broken down in slow-mo just because of the back and forth. Now Patrik chucks out the Flame Chompers. Labrov is caught out, and no further chase from XL. They back out.
I'm so sad for Finn because I've seen so many Irelia highlight plays where I was like, yep, he has the damage to kill. And he knew that the only skill he had to dodge was Lee Sin's Q. So if we could get a slow-mo of that, and watch what Finn does here. So he fully stacks his passive immediately. Auto attack, auto attack, auto attack, and then he waits to guarantee the stun. Alphari tries to slow and then flash with the barrel. The last auto attack comes in from Finn though. He mitigates the kick damage with his W. Then the 1v1 starts, and it's the Q that he has to dodge. So he's weaving in as many auto attacks as possible. Lands the Q on cooldown, and then watch this sidestep. Oh, it's so close! Good. And then Selfmade thinks that he can get the kill with the burn, realizes that the range advantage Finn has with the max Irelia stacks will be enough to kill him, so he has to turn around, get that last auto off, and then he's able to get the kill.
And you know what's even more sad about that too? Is that actually he won the mind game against Alphari's blue trinket. He blue trinket to the other bot lane bush, completely unseen. Almost gets away with a 1v2.
Well spotted. There's 20 seconds to the next dragon. Vitality in the river first. They have closed that gold gap, and you can see how the composition can play out, but you can see how Finn on this Irelia can turn things around. Markoon finds the stun onto Carzzy. He'll use as well as that for the Storm. Vitality still holding position in the river. XL trying to push forward, challenging for the strike, which is about to spawn in 4 seconds.
It's Vitality that wants to find the pick before the fight, but it is Markoon that ends up doing it. And onto Carzzy, no less. A flash stun forces him out of the fight, and XL will secure their 3rd Drake of the game.
I mean, you say that it's Vitality that want to find the pick, and absolutely they do. But when you see there's no cleanse on the Xayah, if you see that Lissandra just a little closer, that could be CC into absolute 100-0.
All of a sudden, XL 1 dragon away from the Mountain Soul. And that will be, I think, hugely beneficial against so much of the burst damage on the side of Vitality. Make Perkz' life even more difficult. Gold does not matter at this point in time. We need to keep looking at vision, keep looking at the setup. Can Vitality play the side in? How the hell do they put Finn on the back foot, who's got 2 items completed now? And Patrik as well, working his way up. 2.5 completed. He's got a lot of tools around him. And even though Patrik was the start of 1 or 2 fights, he hasn't really even had a chance to shine because we haven't had a full-on brawl yet.
It's true, but XL is only going to keep getting stronger. Alphari getting a bit of chip damage, but you can see how little he does to Finn. He is eyeing, because notice that Perkz is shadowing behind him. Alphari does have the ultimate available. And this is a good window. Finn is very overextended here. He's trying to run away.
No flash for Finn. Already used that flawless duet. And here comes Perkz, level down. Vanguard's edges out and dashed away. Finn has got so much damage. Patrik with the long-range super mega death rocket, and Nukeduck completes the TP. Chucks out the tomb. Alphari eats the orange. Nukeduck dashes away with a glacial claw. And it is Finn that picks up yet another. I mean, that was just beautiful.
I mean, anything you could do, I can do better. XL respond to the sideline play so fast.
XL not done yet. Teleport in from Finn. He's looking from behind. Can he find the stun? That's the target. Chucked out the duet. Carzzy's caught. Still got flash available. Labrov is going low. Labrov will go down. Now Finn is on it. It's another rampage. the tower still standing in their way. The dredge line from the stolen Nautilus. All of a sudden, Markoon's running away with that Heartbreaker. It's 26 minutes in. They're turning back to Baron.
Oh my words. You know, I didn't know what steel tastes like, but I can tell you Perkz definitely does. What a phenomenal performance from Finn. His Irelia is just dominating. I was skeptical of the pick, but how can you doubt this man?
I am at an absolute loss for words at how XL have approached this game and how they have executed each of the skirmishes and built up their advantages. They've secured Baron.
So here, again, Finn tries to predict the dash over the wall, but he knows that he's strong enough to just all-in Perkz, so that's what he does. Throws out the ult, gets the Q reset once again, and the immediate response, teleport from Lissandra, collapsing from Markoon and Patrik, and now it is Alphari that finds himself overextended. I thought that XL would go for the cross map, but their game plan is just to collapse, get the numbers and kills advantage, and then convert that into map control.
Yeah, and I think actually the story of this replay is just the reaction speeds of XL. They know exactly what they want to do within a very quick time span. They managed to snowball that into, collapse into this mid lane and take control of this entire game with the Baron afterwards.
I mean, 3,000 gold lead. Now 2 minutes till the next Dragon. Baron Buff will just about be available to them. They've got their 4th tower of the game. It was equaled by Perkz. Keep this in mind. Perkz playing the side lane. So is Alphari. Teleports available for both. And here comes Markoon from behind. Nukeduck has got that glacial path if he wants to chase. And Perkz very, very slippery. Still got flash available to him. Keep your eyes on the minimap. 3 members of XL pushing their ways forwards. And Perkz will just get burst down and forced out as now Alphari will have some time in that top tower.
Alphari does get that time in the top tower, but I mean, it's still not really a response to the rest of the Baroned up members from XL. Question is now actually Vitality, you want to play that split map. Can they do that against such strong side lanes from XL in their own right with the Baron on top?
Well, let's take a look. Perkz once again. A little bit of a target, both Markoon and Nukeduck using those Baron Empire minions to push forward. The mid lane, which had been held by XL for a long time, allowed Mikyx to just drop down to bottom, a minute away from the Soul. And XL just pushing those waves up, Vedius.
Just keep my eyes on what Finn is doing right now, because he actually went top, caught the wave, then rotated back to mid, deciding not to reset with the rest of his team. I think that his main game plan here is without TP, he wants to be able to contest the river with his team. So everyone's just reset. They know that Dragon is going to be up. Look at all the control wards and the inventory of XL. Finn probably doesn't have enough gold to spend it on anything, so he just stayed on the map. Now they have mid control. Now they can move into the river. Look at all the pings. XL realized the area of the river that they don't have control of. So instead, without any response from Vitality, with no contest on the mid wave, they're sieging on the tier 2.
And it's already fallen. There's nothing they can do about it. Finn is playing with such confidence, using the entire kit of Irelia. Level 16 available to him, blade surging in and out of threatening Alphari, clearing out the wave. Now Vitality once again looking to challenge maybe that Dragon, but they're going to be risking their inhibitor turret. Perkz looking for a flank. Keep your eyes. Perkz is caught out as Nukeduck can pincer him in. Not going to use that blast cone yet, and XL back out, Nymaera.
Now, and the thing that's dangerous here from XL is that they are pushing beyond their vision.
Finn's gonna fight.
They have an option.
Finn's gonna fight. Finn's gonna fight. Finn is fighting. Vanguard's edge tags. Perkz Selfmade as well. That's a kickback onto Finn. It's a split as XL are pouring through the blue buff. It's Vitality that are now split up. 3 members inside the jungle. 2 in the bottom lane. Finn stays alive long enough to blade surge twice. Almost finds the kill. Finally gets taken down. Perkz escapes with his life. It's now a 4 versus 4 as Perkz is too low to re-engage. But Vitality have some level of control. Mikyx will shield himself. The Dragon is up and they are inside the pits.
Perkz is going back to base and will have the TP up and available. You have to criticize Finn for that play. He was way too confident, way too over-aggressive. XL had more gold, stronger comp, and they greeded for the fight instead of going for the Drake. This will give Vitality a small window back into this game. They will claim the Drake, they will buy themselves a little bit more time, and Finn, while that looked cool, was just way too over-aggressive.
Kind of going back to what happens here again, this is why Vitality is so bold about going for this. They know that XL, maybe for the first time in quite a long time, are going beyond that safe vision again, and they can try and flit around the edges with the ability to hop over walls without LeBlanc. But Finn, of course, very, very willing to go on the aggressive side of things. But even with all of his gold, with the Death Stance, the ability to lifesteal up so much, he's too isolated at this point.
I think that you're also seeing some of the struggles that Irelia does have with this much mobility on the side of Vitality, as I see Alphari getting caught out.
He is indeed. Nukeduck and Markoon putting so much damage down. The tomb is up. Nukeduck does get burst out a little, uses the Hourglass as well, stays alive. but that was a relatively easy 2v1. It's not done yet. Labrov's come over the wall. Flash and ignite. Glacial path away. Nukeduck is going to get taken down. Last tick of the burn. All of a sudden, Selfmade is now under some threat. Here comes the rest of XL. 4 members pouring towards the top lane. Ends up being a 1-for-1. The teleport cost from Finn.
Was all of Labrov's summoner spells invested to secure that kill? Nukeduck ended up losing his flash.
Okay,
I don't
but
think
it was
anything,
a cool kill.
It was a very cool kill indeed, but nothing massive going to be gained off the back of that. Just a bit of trading back and forth. A lot of vision invested towards the top side of the map. The Baron is spawning in about a minute's time. This will be the next big objective that we see both teams contesting over. Remember, XL with no real front line can't tank it for that long, but Labrov caught out.
Let's take a look what happens here. Labrov just blown up. I mean, on those instant bursts, it's a great once again. Theft away. Heartbreaker over the wall. That's a double for Patrik, and that was just beautiful. I mean, Labrov was blown up in a millisecond, and Markoon on Viego. Nymaera, you talked about it. The first time we saw him this season on it, it got XL to playoffs. The second time we see it in playoffs, it is beautiful.
I was saying, it's like, well, when's the next big fight going to happen? Turns out exactly what XL wants it to. And yeah, it is a lot about Markoon shattering the side lanes, being there for the first picks in these fights too, and has played it now in some of the most important games this Org's had.
I mean, this is the 4th ever Viego game for Markoon, and he has led the way. I do think you have to credit the whole team. They've responded well. Nukeduck has roamed every single time to back him up and help Finn, who's also been the leading charge at the tip of the spear for so many of these engages.
I have to throw some criticism towards Labrov as well, though. He's been caught out quite a few times this game, and we've clearly seen that Markoon is very happy to take advantage of those oversteps. With Perkz still dead, this is a very easy time for XL, as they will secure their second Baron of the game and set themselves up to win the first game of this series. First ever playoffs. A lot of responsibility on this player's shoulders, and they're delivering in game 1.
Is this your super team? The question XL asks Vitality. And this is not the most fair graphic to throw up, but Vedius, you were talking about XL's first ever playoffs. You know, historically against Vitality, XL have a 10-4 head-to-head. In the last 10 games they played, including the 2 this spring, XL are 9-1. Look at that, 2-0. This roster was, in theory, the weaker. A lot of tight prediction, 3-2s across the board. I think even Discord fans at home thinking that maybe Vitality just sort of edge this one out. But right now, game 1, XL looking great.
You know, Mickey joined the roster, went on to Euphoria, said, we're a top 3 team, refuses to elaborate, leaves, right? Now, he said it again in the interview with Law today, I think we're a top 3 team. And already in this game 1, I think he's demonstrating what he means. He's backing up his words, and it's still a long series to go. There's going to be adaptation, evolution, and both these teams are going to go back and forth, but XL are looking great in game 1.
Crucially, the players that we had a little bit of question marks around, Markoon and Finn, what will they do? Can they handle Selfmade and Alphari? A resounding yes on the Viego, as well as the Irelia. That second Baron buff used to siege this top tower. Vitality forced into their base. While that's going on, Markoon at level 16, he's pushing the middle lane. Got those Baron-empowered minions. Nymaera, the base is about to be cracked.
This is the 1-4, which you know this comp was always going to go towards. Vitality, they're trying to get some chunks here and there, but trying to engage into this 4-man unit is so difficult for Vitality.
Oh, look at this. A lot of chip damage. I mean, some credit here to the barrels, to some of the bursts from Vitality. They're chunking out the XL members, but it's not really slowing them down. Teleport from Nukeduck brings them back to the fray. The base is opened up, and the members in the top lane will shuffle down to the mid lane. We're 25 seconds from the next mountain. Drake Perkz gets stunned up. That's a chase forward from Patrik. Super Mega Death Rocket is body blocked by Selfmade. He dashes away. 15 seconds until the dragon is up. There goes Finn. The duet finds Labrov. Blade Surge once and twice. Vanguard's edge into a Nukeduck Eye shard. Another kill to XL. An inhibitor will fall, and XL have absolute control of the rift.
It is a bad day to be a Nautilus. This game has been just Labrov trying to be on the front line and having absolutely no agency once the first bit of CC lands. Finn flies through the wave, and get Vitality really struggling when they're trying to look for some kind of aggressive footing. They're getting punished over and over.
Vitality, you know, Quickshot, you asked about options earlier. What options do they have? And I think we saw some glimmers of it from Vitality in terms of how they were finding picks, how they were playing a couple of their skirmishes, really leveraging their mobility and pick potential. But XL have just had such great control over the map at every stage, and you can highlight a different player at every stage of the game. You know, Finn in the later game skirmishes, Markoon in his early game setups, Nukeduck being in the right place at the right time, Patrik just doing Patrik things, and Mickey always providing that utility whenever it needed it. It's just a really impressive team effort in game 1. And I'm really excited to see the evolution of this series. Pressure is starting to mount for Vitality. It feels like that this game is done and dusted, but Finn not done just yet. He sees those low health minions. He could easily stack that passive.
I mean,
Come on,
Finn is
you
playing
want
like
it.
him, and really like it has to do it.
He's doing it. He's going. He's going.
Go in. Level 18, got the advantage. 1, 2, needs 2 more. Looking for those autos onto Perkz. Dashes once again. 3, 4. Not even gonna need it. That pops the passive. Finn has got flash available to him. The chains will hold him in place for a moment. The rest of XL are pushing in the bottom. However, they will look for a tower and secure it. Perkz is running for his life. Finn is literally unstoppable.
4-man unit from XL. Again, really hard for Vitality to find advantages there, and they're losing the side lane. XL have such a firm grip on the map.
I mean, Finn's going to take the top inhibitor, completely uncontested. Nobody can stand toe-to-toe. The bottom inhibitor will fall. Rob's going to step forward. There's the dash once more. 2 stacks. Vanguards comes out once more. 4 members, 5 members in the party. Finn stays alive long enough. Buys some time with the stopwatch. Here comes the rest of XL. Wild Growth used. Sonic Rage. The Sonic Wave does kick, but not going to be followed up. Finn goes in once more. Nexus turrets are falling, and Finn still stays alive. Nukeduck golden inside the base. To a Vanguard's engine as well as the duet. Stunning up Vitality. The Nexus will fall, and XL will win their first ever playoffs game.
An impressive performance from start to finish from XL. Yeah, we saw a couple of greedy overextensions from Finn, but he more than made up for it with so much of his mechanical excellence. What a great game from XL. And now the pressure starts to fall on Vitality.
And to me, it really felt like XL just read them like a book right from that level 1. We saw how badly that went, and they just continue to just have that step forward in the game.
I mean, it's fantastic performance. The mobility within the composition as well, making it so difficult for Vitality to hold anyone from XL in place. So difficult to figure out where the threat is coming from, because every single member of XL had an item and gold advantage, which allowed them to just run amok.
And so much credit, in my opinion, needs to be given to Markoon in the early game, because Irelia is a very volatile champion. She can either hit or miss, and you have to make sure that she has a healthy laning phase. Her wave state was in an awkward spot, and if it wasn't for Markoon covering in those early lanes, if it wasn't there to help protect this Irelia, this could have been a very different matchup. But they got him through the laning phase. He was involved in every single one of the early game kills, and you saw what monster he became later on.
I mean, Nymaera and I were on Euphoria earlier this week with Carzzy, and we were talking about Markoon. Carzzy talked very explicitly about how Markoon's mentality and mindset is very determined.
Very vocal.
Very firm in his beliefs in how to play the game. That is a double-edged sword. Today in his 4th ever Viego, he absolutely pops off exactly how we talk about. XL strike first off the back of Finn's Irelia, and after the break, we will dissect this impressive performance.
I'm gonna go take a break. Cool.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.